Today we're back in Richmond at the garden of Kathy LaLiberte to see in August what's still growing and what's ready for harvest. Thanks so much, Kathy, for having us back here.
You bet, Leonard.
This garden looks gorgeous other times of the year, but now it looks like the peak of production.
There's a lot of food in this garden right now.
So let's talk about some of the things we have here. It's starting, these peppers are gorgeous.
Yeah, these are one of my favorite peppers to grow. It's a poblano pepper. They get really, really big. I like the plants are big and really hefty. These aren't staked. They just stand up really straight and strong, and have these huge, huge peppers. Really meaty.
They have to be
delicious.
big and sturdy to hold up those peppers.
They do. They're kind of hot.
I don't like the hot peppers. I like more of the sweet ones. It looks like that's what those orange ones are.
Yeah, that's a variety called Oranos, and they're super sweet, and few of them make it into the house. I just eat them right in the garden.
Well, they're just gorgeous. It's an ornamental too.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, beside us, something we haven't seen before, and it's shade cloth over looks like some lettuce and greens.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Well, I use a lot of shade cloth, especially for resowing plants in the summertime. So under here I have fall crops of arugula and lettuce, cilantro, some other stuff like that. And so the shade cloth keeps the soil temperature down so it's not so hot. It also holds moisture. So things can germinate more easily. I don't have to water every day. And this year it's protecting them from rabbits.
That's a great idea. And another idea I don't think we've seen before is it looks like squash growing up on a trellis.
I trellised that squash. It's an Italian squash. It has a really long neck and a big bulb on the bottom. And the neck is long, and the nice thing about that is that you can slice it. There's no seeds inside.
Wow.
But they're very heavy, like probably as heavy as a baseball bat when they get mature. And I use these little tomato clips to clip them up there and keep them high, and it saves a lot of space. I also think it helps with the, I haven't had any squash vine borer problems this year. And maybe having them up might help with that, I don't know.
Before we talked about leeks and the potential new problem, the leek moth, but you've got a beautiful, before you had a beautiful set of onions coming along. I understand you've had a problem with those.
Yeah, just probably 10 days ago they were, ready for the state fair. But now they have what I think is powdery mildew, which is made the foliage, it's kind of gray and melted looking. But I'm leaving them there because I don't think it's going to affect the bulbs. And I have been using the bulbs in the kitchen. They seem to be fine. And as the bulbs, as the tops crash over, which means that they're ready to be pulled, I am pulling them. But I'm going to let the ones that are still upright, I'm just going to wait. So
even if people have onions without that problem, they should wait until the tops start falling over, and that's a sign to harvest them.
Yeah, unless you need it in the kitchen, then you should just take it right away.
And that's a good point too. A lot of this stuff, there isn't a golden moment. You have to wait till.
That's
if you want some onions, harvest them. You want some peppers,
absolutely.
If they're not colored yet. I know ours usually don't get colored because we're eager for peppers, and we.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, speaking of some of these things, I brought some of my garden along today to show.
Oh, good.
So let's take a look at that. Well, here's some of the garlic I harvested, Kathy. These are we harvested when the top started dying back, like you want to do with garlic. And then we put it in a warm, well-ventilated place to dry. And I noticed you've got some, too.
Yeah, I harvested these about 2 weeks ago, and we have them hanging in the barn, so they're not quite as dry and pale as yours, but they will be soon.
So once these green areas start to get more white like this, they're dry, and then it's the time to clean them up. So what you want to do is cut the roots off there on the bottom, and then cut the tops off pretty much just above the bulb, maybe about ½ an inch or so. And then you can, if there's any dirt, loose things like that, you can clean it off to clean them up a bit. And then you have garlic ready to store again. Non-freezing, I found. They don't like freezing. But
right.
There's a nice clove there. So that's the garlic. And next to me here are some lettuce. Now this is a variety I love. It's a red romaine called Outregius, funny name. But then you notice I've got another box coming along with some seedlings that it's amazing to think those will look like this in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So again, a succession to have something coming for fall. And then over the right, late summer is a good time to pot up some herbs to bring indoors on a sunny windowsill. These are some that my wife's grown. The tall one is Basil perpetua. It's a great upright one. It stays that nice shape. It's pretty variegated too. And then in front is a thyme. It's regular cooking thyme, and then a hot and spicy oregano. So just some examples of herbs. If you have limited space or outdoors even, they're great to use. Earlier in the season, we showed some potatoes sowing. I love these grow bags. Love growing potatoes in them. You can, grow bags are great if you don't have a great soil, if it's not well drained, if it's too wet, or if you're limited on space. So we sowed some potatoes. These, you see, are dying back. That's a sign they're ready to harvest. So we'll kind of dump it out. This is one called Yukon Gold. Another thing, they're pretty nice, easy to harvest. You just kind of dump it out. Whoops, here comes one.
All right.
So you see you got some potatoes, and you just kind of pull them out. And you see some really nice, beautiful potatoes. You don't maybe get as many as you do in the ground, but it's just a lot of fun. You get different sizes, so
it's great.
Just a good way to grow those.
I have sweet potatoes growing in mine. They'll be ready, probably I'm going to leave them until almost frost.
Okay, so a long time.
Yeah, so it works.
Well, that's the other thing about these grow bags. They're above ground, so they stay warmer than if the roots were in the ground. So I find the plants grow better. And this year I tried tomatoes, and they love that. In fact, I tried a new variety, which I'll try again, called Baby Boomer. It's supposed to have about 300 tomatoes on the plant. Mine must have that. It's just covered.
Wow.
And I actually brought a few here, so you can definitely try some of those here. Kind of like an oversized cherry tomato. They're just gorgeous.
Super
aren't those
sweet.
great? Yeah,
really
very
good.
sweet, and just so many of them. Well, let's get these tomatoes back to the studio and see what we can make in the kitchen.
Okay.